If God looked at your church today, what would he see? A building, a weekly gathering, a group of people attending services, or would he see something much bigger? The prophet Ezekiel records one of God's most beautiful promises. Ezekiel 34:26, and I will make them and the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down in his season. There shall be showers of blessings. Today we're unpacking Spurgeon's 28th sermon, The Church of Christ. Point number one, God blesses his people so they can bless others. Because a big misconception about Christianity is that God's blessings stop with us. God's plan is actually the opposite. Jesus said it is more blessed to give than to receive. God blessed Abraham so Abraham could bless the nations. God saved his church so the church could be a light to the world that is underneath darkness, to be a city on a hill which cannot be hid, a place of refuge and a means to serve the world, to be the salt of the earth and like salt enhance and preserve the world until Christ's return. Because the Christian life isn't a reservoir, it's a river. God pours his grace into us so it can flow outwards to others, and that's how the gospel spreads. Point number two, every Christian has a purpose. It's easy to assume that ministry belongs exclusively to pastors, maybe even missionaries and church leaders if we're being generous. But Spurgeon challenges that idea by saying, God says, I will make them a blessing. Not just some of them, but every believer. Every Christian he places somewhere intentionally. At work, at school, in a family, among neighbors, God makes all things for some purpose. The stars in the sky for some mariner on the water to look at. The spider in the king's palaces makes webs to get rid of the world of flies. God may not have called everyone to preach a sermon, but he has given us gifts so that we can make an impact, a healthy influence on somebody else. Point number three, healthy churches look outwards because blessings naturally expand. The scripture says, in the place round about my hill a blessing, aka a healthy church isn't self-centered. It helps its attendees and it also serves its neighborhood. It supports missions, raises disciples, plants churches, raises children, helps the hurting. When God is working inside a church, the effects rarely stay inside the building. Blessings spill over because he makes my cup runneth over. Point number four, we can't manufacture revival. God is the one who will cause the shower to come down. Only God can send spiritual renewal. Because programs are valuable, planning matters, and hard work is important, don't get me wrong, but none of these things can replace the work of God's Spirit. For Paul says, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. The church prepares faithfully while depending entirely on God for the harvest. Point number five, God sends more than one kind of blessing. The verse says showers of blessings, plural. Sometimes God blesses through growth, sometimes through comfort, sometimes through conviction, sometimes through generosity, sometimes through perseverance through hardships. Not every blessing looks the same. Sometimes God addition starts with subtraction. But every blessing comes from the same gracious God. Our job isn't to dictate the kind of rain, but to remain faithful for when it comes. So instead of asking, is my church meeting my needs? Maybe the better question is my church becoming a blessing to the people around it? And the even better question is there an I and we? Am I doing my part to be a blessing? God never intended his people to receive grace simply, but he also intended for them to reflect that grace and to give it to others, even if they may not seem worthy, because we ourselves were not worthy, but he still came down and died for us. If everyone in your church served like you, what kind of church would it become? God bless.